how would you like to make your first million? And today we have RJ as the guest today. And during his decade as president and CEO of Unify Equipment Finance, he had the privilege of partnering with dedicated team to grow assets from 40 million to 250 million. Together, they remain in the business through the Unified 2.0 Entrepreneurship system, cutting costs by 30% while accelerating digital transformation and opening new avenues for sustainable growth. So RJ, this question is right in your backyard. Yeah, what are the 5 steps that you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and the wisdom of how they sold their first million.
So I appreciate the introduction, and you made a comment in regards to the 30% efficiency or cost allocation. And really, I want to talk about that real quick before I jump into the 5. That cost reduction was not around employees. That cost reduction is around overhead within the organization.
Wow.
And the way that we positioned that within the team members was, if we can cut costs relative to the contracts that we sign, to the vendors we work with, but also still extrapolate the value exchange with our partners, because collaboration is important, and we're going to talk about that. We would be able to now pay out a stronger profit plan to the employees. So when you're able to have a team look at that and do that, that's where you can have amazing gains like that. So to answer your question 5, I think that any entrepreneur, before you make a conscious decision that you want to start your own business, the first book you should read and the first thing you should do is go buy yourself the E-Myth. The E-Myth is a fascinating, quick read, and you should keep that as your Bible, because so many people go into thinking they're starting a company, and really all they're doing is going into another job, which for some people that's fine because you're working for yourself. However, there's a lot of stress now allocated to that, payroll, things you have to do. So to get to that million, you really should understand on working on the business versus in the business. And that's the main premise of the E-Myth. And there's plenty of YouTube videos out there and things of that nature. The second thing that I think is very important is to ensure that you have plenty of capital allocated for you during this time. So you're not thinking about from a scarcity mindset, but more of an abundant mindset. And your mindset's going to be very critical during this time, because you're going to be doing things that you've never done before, and you're going to have a lot of roadblocks, especially the world that we live in today. Everything from trying to set up a banking account, everything to getting your LLC situated with the state, IRS, everything. And I'm not trying to say that to scare you. I'm just saying if you have proper reserves, your mindset can be abundant and not scarce, where you're not just chasing business and revenue for the wrong reasons. You can make better decisions when you're growing your organization. Now, after we have reserves, we've read the E-Myth. The third thing is to sit down and develop your SOPs. And what I mean by that is I work with so many organizations that I'm shocked with that do not define their SOPs or their standard operating procedures. You can call them tasks, you can call them guidelines, you can call them standards. However, they should be documented. And a lot of times CEOs, or I should say owners of businesses, it gets captured in here and they never take the time to extrapolate that data and have their team members be able to understand what they're doing and have that documented. And nowadays with the tools that are out in the marketplace, it's extremely easy to be able to do that. You could just talk into a recorder like I'm doing right now, or a video, and then you could put it in AI and it would actually document and show you the procedures with a graph and diagrams and things of that nature. So I think we're up to 3, correct? That was number 3. The fourth one is confidence. You have to have confidence in what you're doing, what you are trying to grow from 0 to $1 million, because you're going to go from 0 to 50,000 to 100,000. That last 300,000 is going to be very difficult. And what I mean by that, I've lived it. You have to be very confident and very passionate to get to that million. Okay. That last couple 100,000, if you're making all the right decisions, you've scaled, you've done the SOPs, you have confidence, you're working on the business, not in the business. And then the last thing is collaboration. It's who you surround yourself with. It doesn't matter if it's teammates, if it's other organizations you're partnering with. It's all about being like-minded and that you're all rowing the boat the right way and you're collaborating to develop an ecosystem to support you in growing from 0 to 1 million.
Scaling up. So you're dedicating team grow the assets from 14 million to 250 million. Tell us what are the secrets about scaling up, and what are the main principles that how we can do this sustainable?
I would say in that situation, a lot of it was mindset. And I go back to the abundance versus scarcity mindset. The organization that we grew, Unify, was established in 1978. So I came in 2013 as the second CEO president and really re-energized and revigorated the organization. Great team in place, but they're very used to doing things a certain way and very used to, our average ticket size is $8,000 in our world. Well, guess what? When I left, it was over $100,000. So
wow.
I knew that in order to be able to grow, we talked about expense cutting earlier, that, from a factory perspective, it didn't matter if an opportunity for $8,000 came to our factory or if it's $100,000. We treated both opportunities the same. So we had to go and find the larger transactions, when I say $100,000, to be able to grow and scale. But this roadmap I just laid out to you is exactly the roadmap that we followed. Because you layer on your SOPs, your KPIs and standards. So everyone understands there's transparency. When people show up in the morning, they know what their responsibility is within the team to ensure success. And how many people go to work nowadays that don't have any idea? They show they're given a job description, maybe they're given a little bit of coaching, but then here you go, have at it. And when you're able to onboard team members as well as relationships, it just sets the right tone right from the beginning. And that's what we did. We took our what we call legacy employees that were there for a long time, which were critical to growing the business because they were the foundation. They were the history of the ethos. And then you brought in new energy, new people with fresh ideas. And when we would hire new individuals into our organization, we would tell them two things. One, if your job description is the same a year from now, we've made a mistake in hiring you, because we want you to come in and ask a lot of questions and push, especially the first 60 days, because it's so new to you. We're in the jar. We don't see the label. You're coming in with a fresh perspective. So there's no question at all that you could ask us that's a foolish question. So please ask about everything. And just that communication style and allowing them to share ideas, just broaden the horizon, because 75% of team members have great ideas to enhance your customer journey. Most business owners just don't give them the vehicle to be able to share those ideas.
Culture. I think that out of the 500 million that we interview in this broadcast, entrepreneurs, sometimes I ask the question, if you're going to do it, if you need to start all over, how would you do it? What would you do different? And a lot of people give me the answer about culture. Tell me, Harry, if I knew that culture in the company is gonna be the key, if I knew that that is gonna be 10 times, 100 times harder to span and to create this business, I will pay more attention to the team, the people that was working at the beginning. However, the scaling up, we have the challenge of legacy, because you have the people already there that they are the foundation of the business. And however, when you come in with the scaling up and going to the next level, you will have this challenge when you bring in new people, right? And now the company have a new culture, not a new culture, but an upgrade existing culture. And if you don't effectively, could be a clash between the legacy that is already in the business and the new people. So how you navigate this culture, that especially when a new guy comes with everyone, they are defensive, and now this guy gonna make me work more, and now why is he doing bringing these new people? You have people there that you didn't hire, right? They were already there when you arrived. and the culture was already set for that company without you being there, and now you need to come and do a merge of adapting to existing culture and implement yours and start to measure this, which you have done successfully to this
Well,
massive growth. So tell us
I
challenges.
I appreciate that, but there is a lot of challenges, and
Yeah, I'm looking forward here.
yeah, it is, and so that it's not easy. And was I successful? If you look at the numbers in the top line, yeah, I was successful. However, I'm a person that always looks back and say, what could I have done differently? And probably the biggest thing that I could have done differently was to slow down and really get to know my team members, which I didn't do, which I had to go back and do that. And you mentioned something earlier.
We all been there. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can build a relationship with trust, and trust is everything in a relationship. And that could take 3-4 years to build, or 3 months to build, or 6 months to build, and you could blow it up in 30 seconds. So it's a very, very difficult managing, especially when you're with a entire team and you're the only one that's coming in, the new sheriff in town, right? Which I don't like that saying. However, they know change is coming. They know, that it's not going to be the same way. And the way that I always position it, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, it's just the way that I did. I would tell people, if you're not happy here, you get one time around this incredible world, this universe. If you're not happy, come see me. I will actually help you go to where you want to go, or at least have that discussion. Because at the end of the day, this is what we're building here. Okay. And this is, you're going to say in what we build here, but it's not going to be the same as it was before. It's definitely going to be different. The other thing that you have to you really have to stay focused on, Harry, is, and this is just this fact of life, unfortunately, and you have to have empathy when you're doing this, but the people that were there to grow you from 0 to $250,000 might not be the same people that are going to grow you from 750 to $1 million. It's going to be a different skill set. And again, I'm not knocking the each has a role in that. However, the people that we had in on the team when we were first growing were completely different today, because we went from 400 clients to 6,000 clients. You had to have someone with that skill set to do that. So you always be evolving relative to the skill set of your organization. And I go back to like-minded. It really comes down to hiring, and hiring is probably one of the hardest things to do. I find it fascinating. You go interview with an organization, or I interview someone to join my organization. It's very like the house, which as well to me is kind of crazy. You go in a house twice, 3 times, maybe before you buy it here in the States, and you could be there for the next 30 years. You've spent maybe 4 hours in that house and you've made a buying decision. The same thing with interviewing. You meet someone for an hour, maybe you talk to them through a Zoom, you get to know them, you do some background checks. This is for a brand new, team member. And you have to make a constant decision, or a decision if there's urgency around hiring this person and having them join. So we really focused on cultural fit more than anything else, to ensure that this person was going to be able to join our organization and fit in, because we had uniqueness to our organization that we were very transparent with up front. It was not an easy environment to work in. And what I mean by that, when you're in the blending business, which we are in, the rules are always changing. Rates are changing. Credit profiles are changing. Inventories are changing. So it's not a static world. It's a very dynamic world. And if you don't have that skill set to be able to change on the dime and critically think and things of that nature, we're just going to set you up for failure. So it was really about the hiring to ensure that we were adding correct people to give them an environment to be successful. Because when you focus on them, to ensure, when I say them, new team members, when you focus on team members being successful, then everything else takes care of itself.
Culture fit is something we have to talk about more, because there is very little. And when we are hiring people out there, the way that everybody doing it, everybody get the CV, they see the person have the skill sets, and it's know how to do the job, how much experience, which school they went, and that's it. About culture fit, very little questions, and you hire or you're not. Whether during the years I realized that we have employees that have been working with us from years. Yeah, we have employees that start to work with us with no babies. Now they have three babies, so three children. So in my alone. So how you keep how you work, and there are of course some people in the organization that they haven't last, and you start to look back and think what was the issue, why some employees stay forever and the other one they're gone. And the reason is very simple: those ones that stay, they fit within the culture of the company, within the values of the company. Their values as a person are matching the value that the company have. So they are not even some of the people with me. I'm telling them, I said, look, guys, why you don't find another job? I'm sure you get paid more. And they're telling me, we like to work with you, and we're happy with the money that you pay us. We're not gonna go anywhere else. They and with us for years. So the point of the story is that and we have issues with this because sometimes I don't do the hiring, and someone made to bring somebody in the organization that the culture of the company doesn't align with the person. Then I always I have your behavior. I try to always to do the impossible to keep the person whatever is in my hands. Sometimes it works, most of the time it doesn't, because there are in my company, right, we run businesses with large movement but very few operator, very few employees. This is so in my companies all the employees have to be multitask, right? That I haven't in the team done in business that one of my employees is telling me, Harry, this is not my job. Since we bring them, they know they need to be proactive. They know that this is a very small organization, very few employees. We do gazillion things, and here you have to be proactive. Even this podcast we're having today, I told to my employees, guys, we're doing a podcast, and they told me, Harry, what is that? I said, I don't know. You have to find out, and you tell me because I don't have any clue. I just want to do it, and some people are telling me to do it, so we have to do it. And they told me, Harry, okay, wait, give us 3 weeks, and we're gonna have a look at this podcast thing, and we're coming back to you. And after they all this fantastic thing that they just told me, Harry, just press the button. That's it. Press the button. You put this video in one link that we're gonna give you. You don't touch anything. We go to your social media. We go to this. We go everywhere. The guests are gonna have it. It's gonna be amazing. You don't need to worry about this. It's all done. Just and they knew that that media cannot give me so much instruction. So they've been working with me for so many years. They know me better than I know myself. So when they had handed back this, they just told me, just press this button. That's it. You don't have to do this. Just put this background here. They already created. Put it there. This is how you do it. Don't touch anything. Just record and upload. And this is what I do. I record and I upload, and that's it. The whole system, the websites and things that I created, they produce everything. So the whole point is that that is they have in the internal culture that I gonna run do a specific job, and if somebody come and take me out of this job, I'm gonna tell them, look, I'm sorry, I cannot do it because this is not my job. Maybe it's a good fit in different company, but in my one, this employee is not gonna be a good fit in the way. So how you find this challenge? How you with the challenge in an existing already culture that you find in that organization, right? Where people already want there with a way of doing things and the internal culture. Now you're coming in with a new culture, new way of doing things, new people aligning to your culture, and then you have the existing legacy there that they are important because they have the know-how and they know a lot of things about the company. That's not that you can get rid of them or fight them wouldn't be fair. So how we transition the legacy from the old to the new culture, and how can we diminish the friction that this, like you said, it's not easy, but any tip?
I don't think I'll ever diminish the friction just out of human nature. We don't like to change, and change is very difficult. So what you can do is try and reduce the friction. And I always believe of, as long as you're trying to communicate as best as you can and share as much as you can. Also, for example, it's in this situation, because when you join an organization, if you read any good publication around, your first 90 days, you should just be a big sponge and just listen and learn to get to know people and things of that nature, which is the hardest thing to do, because most likely, and again, in this situation, the parent company made a significant investment for me to come there. All right. Which means I need to start showing a return of that investment sooner than later. And that's revenue production.
Absolutely.
So it's an act. I go back to get to know everyone that's currently on the team. And when I say get to know, don't give them what they do on a daily basis. That's naturally going to happen. Get to know what drives them. Who's their family? Who's, who are their parents? What are they doing in their spare time out of the office? Then when you get to know them, now you understand them as a human being, and you're going to be able to show them empathy. You're also going to show them you're going to understand what motivates them. The challenge with that, though, is when you walk into a new organization, there's 20 new people and one of you have to start with your management, right? And then work your way down. That's the biggest thing. It's not the business side. It's getting to know the current team. And then when it comes to the business, what they enjoy doing, what their skill set is, what they don't like doing, which is just as important. And what you alluded to earlier, we hired several people. I want to say a half dozen come to mind right now that we hired for one role. Great employee, great team member, great attitude, but the role wasn't a fit. So we were able to transition them.
It's amazing. I have work amazing.
And it works amazing. And the one I had maybe
because the culture is just the role, right?
The cultures, but you to earlier a hire that you weren't part of. That happened to me. And we learned from it. However, I tried to save this person by pivoting them into a different role. They didn't want anything to do with that. They're like, nope, this is what I was hired for. I'm staying here. Unfortunately, this person was not good at that role. Yeah, and then I had to make a hard decision for the overall team, and unfortunately, that it led to they had to move on. But my heart, the rule of thumb for me is, can I look myself in the mirror and did I do the right thing? I'm the only one that can judge that. No one else in the organization, because they don't know all the other nuances and moving 100%. Parts. As long as I can look myself in the mirror and feel okay with it, even though it's a hard decision, you're affecting someone's life. And I'll also say this to you. It's bit me in the butt before, because I sometimes have too much human empathy that I probably should have fired someone before I did, and I never did, and it came back to bite me.
100%. If they're not happy, they're gonna be there and they're gonna make the life mission make everybody unhappy like them.
Yes, exactly.
That's gonna be the whole life mission, and you can know the organization. Now let's talk about a little bit about legacy, because you not only have legacy with people, you have legacy also with technology, right? You arrive to one company, you have 40 million in assets, and you have some.
I'm smiling, Harry. I'm smiling here, Harry, because I have a great story about this. So I came from an organization that was very tech focused, and I walked into, again, this company was established in 1978. Kind of stale, kind of, the CEO was older. He was ready for retirement. All things that are human nature. Doesn't mean anyone's a bad person, bad operator. It's just human nature. You get to a certain chapter of your life. You're ready to. Well, I walk into the organization. Two things stuck out of me. One, everyone only had one computer screen on their desk, and I said, okay, we're gonna double them. And then the second thing.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, my director of operations, I said to her, hey, grab your laptop. Let's go in the conference room and go through the process map. She looked at me. She started laughing. She goes, what are you talking about, laptop? I go, you don't have a laptop? She goes, oh, no, we're only PC based. I go, okay, that's something we're going to start allocating in the budget as well, because from a disaster recovery perspective, we need laptops to go remote when COVID happened. So And this was back in 2013, 2014. So on top of all that growth, we ultimately rebranded, new operating platform technology. It's a lot. Would I do it again? Heck yeah, because everything I learned
absolutely. Otherwise, you don't.
The excitement, everything that we were so as a team then, because everyone, it was exciting. It was just really exciting, new. It was buy-in. Everyone saw it, and then when when you're winning, winning, feel better. Your confidence goes.
Any tip in legacy of equipment? Because I've been invited to speak about this topic that
Really?
we're just discussing. Oh yeah, it's a huge problem in United Kingdom. I mean, I presume that all over the world that there are huge companies out there that they are stuck with the old legacy of equipment, and they don't know what to do. Now everything is on the cloud, and you have the cloud computer, and you have this software, and then you are there, and then you are the employee in UK for 20, 30 years that know how to use the software when the company was creating and things like that. And there is no way. It's so much pain.
We're living it right now with AI.
To change all that. Yeah, it's so much pain to change all that. The big companies, talking about big companies, prefer to actually live it like this, and they're sitting in a lot of asset legacy, old, not only people but also equipment as well. You know the pain, you know how hard it is because you done it. So any secret, any tip you can share with for our listeners that with this subject, how to go to this transition? Because at some point, and you said now that we're dealing with AI, because at some point these big companies, they either do it or they're gonna go out of business. There is no shortcut to this, and they're sitting just because they're very powerful brand, they're well capitalized and everything. But even banks sometimes, well, you're an IT person to the bank sometime, and I see the softwares, the line of code that they, and I'm like, guys, you know this by how it looks the computers sound look very old to me. No, but it's safe. It's safe, yeah, because protects. But I don't know. These softwares are not written like this. And sometimes you go to the bank and this is what you find, right? So any experience, any tip you can to our bank managers, owners?
Yeah, so that goes back to the collaboration piece that I talked about earlier on. So when I walked into the CEO president Unify, I had a really strong network that I could pick up the phone and call other CEOs or other senior leaders in organizations and pick their brain on different tools within the organization. Basic blocking and tackling for business, I can make those decisions. However, I wanted to ensure that we're going to put the correct operating system in. And then ultimately, it always came
the back CRM,
this stuff. CRM, back to the tool. It came back to the people, okay, that were selling or were going to service us from a tools perspective. An example of that is we had an issue on a quarter end close one time. I was able to call the CEO of the company for the software provider, 4th of July weekend, and they had their team in supporting us as a client during that time.
Wow.
So it really comes down to the people that you're interacting with. However, your due diligence, collaborate with people that are in the industry using these tools. And guess what? You're going to have to take some calculated risk. Did I know every tool was going to be correct? No.
And they're going to learn fast how to use it?
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. So education and change management of educating why you're making
the resistance changes of the people. Exactly.
Yes.
Rather than bring out of the sky the education, right?
Correct.
Explain them why we're doing it. Enroll the team into the.
It's a fine line. It's a lot of work, Harry. And that's where I was going to go, because it's a fine line.
And it's expensive, right? Because it requires time, and time is expensive. Now you are with the budget, and everybody looking at you, and everybody looking at you. I said, are you sure you want to put 100 people? I do a lot of corporate training.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have the whole people. I have them in the audience, and this for the full day. They are in training for the. I know this is costing a lot of money because what they are not producing, they are on training with me. So so it costs time. So how you balance also that, because then Some people in the organization will be looking at you and say, are you sure, Jay, that you want to put so much training, so much enrollment, bringing new technology? It's expensive. But if you don't do it, then it's worse, right? Because they don't use it.
I completely agree. There, and in corporate America here in the States, anyways, there's been such a reduction of training and education for team members and employees. And when I started this in this industry, there was training programs, there was a roadmap in terms of your career within an organization. They invested in their employees to send them away for anything from sales to knowledge to leadership training. And I've seen that over the last 5 years specifically just continue to be ratcheted down, and organizations, especially the larger ones, a lot of them put it on that on their own, if they want to better themselves to go do that, which I'm also a fan of too. As I speak in front of groups, I tell younger individuals that are starting their career that they are in charge of their career. And any company that you go to, don't expect them to show you the career map. And oh, by the way, I can guarantee whatever you think your career roadmap is, it's not it. So, have your dream, chase it. My dream was, I always knew I wanted to be a CEO, president of a company. Didn't know what type of company. So, and there's no direct line to your end game.
Then one more is regarding the when about structure, because when you go to this organization that they are large and then scaling up, we basically see a structure that is like, I always describe it like a Titanic. So it's a big, huge boat, right? That you see the iceberg and you have to turn right. This boat is so big, so heavy, so rigid that it takes them time and very slow to respond to change. Where another structure more dynamic could be right now have this big Titanic boat. How about if we have 3,000-liter boats? So you are the CEO, you're in the first little boat on the front, and then you say turn right, and then 3,000-liter boats turn right. So you can respond to change faster, and which is key for the organization in order to survive, grow, and definitely don't go out of business. So when you arrive, you come in with a structure that's already in place, have nothing to do with you, just find it, right? What do you do when it doesn't respond to, and how you re-engineer the company structure, because you need to have position that doesn't exist. You need to create new probably SOP, new job position, and some of the positions that there is already in the organization, you say you reduce 30%, they are obsolete, and these employees have to be re-educated, retrain, allocate different roles. So tell us about these challenges and suggestions for people facing. You have three major problems. You have culture fit, you have a structure fit, you have people, and also the tech, the technology. Have all that, right?
Yeah, no, that's a fascinating question, and you're right. Bigger the ship, the more challenging it is to pivot. And we see that so many companies that they grow to a certain point that they have what I call legacy bloat, and they just can't be fixed. Unfortunately, it's just
wow. It's heavy, right? It's too low,
so
too
heavy,
late,
so big, and it's too late. And then it goes to the scarcity mindset. They start making decisions that they wouldn't have made if they had better reserves allocated to make those hard decisions. The other thing too, Harry, is I firmly believe longer the company's been established and bigger the company, and I don't mean this the way that it's going to sound, it might trigger some people, but unfortunately, bigger the company, longer the company's been in business, it's easier for people to hide. And what I mean by that, show up every day. They're not improving their skill set. They're on the internet. They're not growing. There could become a cancer in the organization. They're the ones that sit in the meetings quiet. They don't give any input, and they complain behind your back about everything. But they're never going to bring you a solution. That right there is by 1,000 cuts. So
but
if
this
you're
is an issue, right?
Yeah, it is a sure issue to a certain degree of understanding what in your department. So say if we're in a big company, it all starts with your department. Okay. And if you're the CEO, then it's all the departments, which mean you have to lead on. I'm always a fan of less layers. I've worked for, I had 4 layers. I've worked with companies, I've had 2 layers. I like,
wow.
I like 3 layers. I like leadership, management,
That's it.
That's team members that are,
that's
and if you have strong,
if
you have not managers, but leaders, they can make it happen for you. But that goes back to the hiring and like-minded people. So if you're going to I believe, make key decisions and invest in team members, that leadership piece is critical because they have to lead by example, especially in the world we live in today. You have to stay up to date with technology, market conditions. Anyone that says, oh, it's easy to do a business plan or look out 3 to 5 years around a pro forma your financials, they're lying to you. Run the other way. Everything changed in 2020. Everything changed. Good, bad, or indifferent. We're not here to discuss that. But now we have tariffs. There's always something that is coming at us that we have to pivot. And if you can't pivot and adjust, I'll give you an example of that. So we enter COVID. Then we come out of COVID in 2021. Our business is driven off of financing equipment. That's the only way we make money is if people are buying equipment. What happened in 2021 and 2022? There was no production. There was no production. There was no equipment and inflated prices on all the equipment. So we felt bad for our customers because if they were going to buy a piece of equipment, they'd have to overpay for it.
Yeah, because they have to pay for the extra for the shipping on the zone, right?
Exactly. So there's really no, and after that, 2023, what happens? We have 7, the fastest rate increase of all time in history. So you went from inflated equipment prices with low rates, and now we went to inflated equipment prices with high rates. And I always chuckled during COVID when I would talk to someone, they say, well, business owners, they should have planned better for COVID. They should have had more reserves ready. And I talked about reserves. However, there's no book about COVID of the government shutting down the world. So
it was totally unexpected.
Completely unexpected. However, we wanted to help companies with PPP. So again, that's where you have to be nimble.
Wow.
And it goes back to also the skill set of the team members that you have. Bigger the team, more challenging.
And the culture.
Yes, the culture.
And they were willing to resist and say, okay, you know what? We're producing A, but now today we need to produce Z. And if the culture of the organization is there, well, it will work. Otherwise, that's it.
But our North Star was always the customer journey and always the customer. It was never, and I would always say this at every town hall, the company did not pay your salaries. The people that you pick up the phone and deal with on a daily basis are dealer partners who refer us business and our current clients who take loans from us and pay us back. They pay your 100%. Salary. 100%. Nothing to do with the parent organization. Their bosses when they call, not RJ. Yeah. They are. That's who you want to. And when you instill that in people, it really it creates and understands it. And then there's standards. I also believe in, and we should talk about this, in co-leadership. And what I mean by that, one of our interview questions when we were interviewing a new team member was, we're going to give you a situation and we'd like to know how you would handle this. And the situation was your coworker who sits next to you at a cube, you see them on Amazon all afternoon. How do you handle that?
That's fantastic. So, wow, this has been a very, very productive conversation. Thanks so much for joining this broadcast. Any last message? Hold on. Great question. If somebody's in love with this conversation, I want to get to know you more, learn from you, how people can find you, how this process works. If you can share a little bit, it would be fantastic.
Sure. Website is RJ at RJ Grimshaw, or that's my email, RJ at RJGrimshaw.com. My website is RJGrimshaw.com. You can Google RJ Grimshaw and you'll find different YouTube videos. I talk a lot around the topic of called entrepreneurship, where someone thinks like a business owner within an organization. And now I'm really focused on helping organizations with AI and automation. AI is a big word, but really just picking a specific area to assist organizations, either from prompting to tool selection to analyzing data. It's very exciting, but the change of pace is almost too fast.
Again, legacy.
Legacy.
We're coming back to, and the faster that the new legacy, they can huge savings. Huge we can come to an organization. I remember, English is not my first language, and I remember that when I started business 18 years ago, I need to write a letter. It would take me 3 days because I need to write it first in my own language, then I need to translate it in English. I need to find a friend to check if the English was correct and everything, and then I will send the email. Yeah, when you're dealing with a lawyer, with this, with that, right? So, and today, they less than a minute. So that's how business technology evolve, and I know that we know that with our discussion today, that's challenging, coming to a new organization, but scaling up. If you know what you're doing, you can have. But if you don't know what you're doing, this could be a huge challenge because there are more issues that you need to deal with that more than actually appear on paper are on the books. Yeah, when you face dealing with the scaling up. So,
and I don't wish that on anyone.
And then of a scaling up. Oh, we have a lot. Can speak more hours. That the speed I use my business. I scale up so fast. I don't know cash flow, and I have a big organization, and I'm just arriving to smiling, and I have my managers. I have like 170 tenants, the big operation with, and I only have the bank, and I have to smile to everyone, and literally sometimes was £1, sometimes was £10. Happened few times, just by accelerating, expanding fast. You also talk about expanding fast without reviewing the culture of the people. This expanding fast, apart from the people, apart from that, have another issue as well, which is cash flow. That not because you go faster, you think that it's gonna be more sustainable. Because I have days, several times I had to wait for 2-3 days. As God, there was a property business will bring cash flow every 2-3 days, but oh my God, there were days that I don't decide those days to anybody. They were tough, and you taking all the decisions, right? And at the end of the day, you're responsible for everything. So, but I'm happy that days pass, and now we have experience, which is something that is more a big asset. So much. And for all of you following the broadcast, our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneur like Ajay break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.